for all women and girls, rights, equality, and empowerment. International Women's Day 2025. Merging the theory of music with its practical aspect in the form of the national instrument, this woman attained her highest goals, both in and out of academia. How did you get involved with the steel pan?
I got involved with the steel pan at a very young age, at 5 years old. But at 5, of course, you're not very conscious and actively thinking about what you're doing, just more so that you enjoy it. So I've been playing pan for a very long time, and I've been in the field of music for a long time. However, I started realizing that I enjoy music more so in my secondary years, because I really enjoyed playing on Trinidad All-Stars stage side, which I did a lot. So I was balancing school, performing on their stage side, and then I also did a lot of solo performances. And I just used to like to lay on my floor with headphones in the dark and just listen to music, because it was my way of exploring how the music was structured and how the composer would sort of build on different elements of the music. So I think I really realized that I really do have a passion for music, which I've been doing for a very long time during my secondary years, and it just progressed from there.
What were some of the challenges you faced in your career?
Yeah, steel pan is indeed at least used to be, and historically, been a very male-dominated field. And I think there's an added element to that, which is age. So you have older men who have dominated the field, and then you have these younger women, coming in. And of course, that has all sorts of different challenges in the sense of, persons listening to you. What do you say? The things that you say, do those things matter? Are those things being taken into consideration when you make certain decisions and stuff like that? So I think for me, the challenge became when I was younger, I would say early 20s or so, and you start sort of taking up leadership roles, whether it's a captain or even an arranger and that type of thing, then you kind of might get some, oh, okay. And it's not a disrespect or anything, it's more like, oh, look at her, that type of thing, as opposed to somebody who is respected for the work that they do. But I think over time, once you do the work and the work has quality, I think eventually people tend to respect that work that you do. And that's why I care so much about the quality of work that I produce. And I care a lot about what the audience members have to think about the work, and making sure that I always put on an excellent production. And I think with those things, and also certification, getting certified, getting my doctorate, all of those things help to sort of iron out those types of issues.
Tell us some of your successes that stand out to you.
With all of these successes, there were so many challenges, so as many people only see the successes and they don't realize that it's probably double the amount of challenges. But the successes definitely, I would say, would include the virtual steel band, which is a project that I worked on with some of my colleagues, including Yuko Sada, and actually the latest pan in Unity with Tracy Thornton as well. And we were able to have 691 panists from across the world, 23 countries, participate in a virtual sort of steel band performance. So for me, pan is about being part of pan is a very important element to have pan spread across the globe and people knowing about Trinidad and Tobago culture and using the instrument, and something like the virtual steel band and pan in Unity project actually allows that to happen. And then of course, my roles, I would say, the first one being my role as a mother. I am a mother of one daughter. I don't know how mothers do it with more than one child. I just have one 4-year-old, and she's very outgoing and very intelligent, and I take that role very seriously. And of course, my role as assistant professor at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, I have a lot of students, that are looking up to me and my colleagues. So, we try to make sure that what we do are really good examples, and we can show them that you can have a successful career in pan. Because when I was growing up, that wasn't a thing. What, you're gonna do pan? Why are you gonna pursue pan? How are you gonna make a living? You're gonna live, how are you gonna pay your bills? Playing pan? So I think a success is one of the biggest successes is showing that you can actually have a career in pan, and whether that means arranging, performing, lecturing, guest lectures, transcription, conducting. There's so many different elements of music and pan in Trinidad and Tobago that, just the mere fact that you can live and have a good career in steel pan, I think, is a success in itself. And of course, my position as the musical director of the National Steel Symphony Orchestra. So I also serve as the chair for the Trinidad All-Stars Academy. So lots of youths under my under my wings. So it's really an honor, and I think some of my successes are really rooted in who I work with and those who I kind of take under my wing to move forward with steel pan in Trinidad and Tobago and the world.
How do you think we can achieve equality and empowerment and ensure rights for all women and girls?
Rights of women and girls and empowerment, these things are so important. And I think, I'm sure persons have heard this before, but representation is so important. Young girls need to see, women in their roles and see them as successful so they feel like they can be there. I know one of the challenges right now with young girls and young women, and I'm seeing this at the University of Trinidad and Tobago, is when we're ready to pick arrangers. The arrangers are always the boys, because when you look at the panorama stage, you see more male arrangers for the panorama competition than female. That does not mean that the females aren't there. They are there, but they are very few. So you realize that the young female students are more drawn towards some of the other roles, like wanting to be a teacher. And to me, it's a big part of that is representation. And that's why I'm really so grateful when I see female arrangers stepping up and saying, yes, we're female leaders, we are female captains. Our president of Pan Tobago is female. So to me, it's about allowing more women, of course, to do that. But how do we do that? When we look at the primary school level and the preschool level, like the very, very young ages, there are more male, like boys' schools that you will see participating, for example. Like I was just looking at the list of schools for Junior Panorama, and it's like Nelson Street Boys, St. Margaret's, and I think one is San Fernando Boy, so you're seeing a lot of the boys' schools. Not saying there aren't any girls, right? And then sometimes the girls' schools are combined schools, so we kind of not really we're not noticing that the boys' schools are actually the ones that, so it starts from very young. So I think one thing that we can do is to just make sure that the young girls have the same opportunities as the young boys. And these are things you have to pay attention to and be self-aware of as a country and as a field.
Why is it important to celebrate International Women's Day annually?
International Women's Day is definitely important for that same reason of empowerment and representation. I mean, historically, if you look at the history of the world, women have been sort of underrepresented, underestimated, not necessarily given the same opportunities as men have. And though that has been changing, and we see women stepping up and taking on some really, really powerful roles, I think we still need to look at that to make sure that we really get to a place where both boys and girls can say they want to be anything, and it's not necessarily gender specific. So something like International Women's Day, it's actually really important because now young girls can be looking at these women who are in these interviews, for example, and can see themselves there and be like, oh, I didn't even know I can be a professor of music, or whatever field the woman represents, So that representation is really important, and I'm really grateful that there's such a day to celebrate women.
For all women and girls, rights, equality, and empowerment, the Office of the Parliament celebrates International Women's Day 2025.